hi there students, welcome back to another video lesson. So after nating i-introduce yung polynomial functions during the first video lesson for Grade 10 Mathematics Quarter 2, so our next video lesson has something to do with graphing polynomial functions. So dito, tuturuan ko po kayo kung paano ang mga paraan kung paano i-graph ang polynomial functions as well as kung ano ang itsura ng graph ng polynomial functions. So let's start. For our lesson objectives, first, we will apply factor theorem to determine the factored form of a polynomial function. So, sa pag-graph po ng polynomial function, mahalaga po na yung ating given ay naka-express sa standard form para mas madali nating makikita yung mga intercepts ng graph. And then, find the intercepts and other points of the graph of a polynomial function. So, as I mentioned, after we factor the given polynomial function, that will be the time na makikita natin clearly yung mga intercepts. And then, aside from that, kailangan din natin ng other points, aside from dun sa intercepts, para sa pag-graph ng polynomial function. And then, after that, we will describe the location of the graph of polynomial functions using table of signs. Kung below the x-axis ba siya, nag-i-start, or above the x-axis. So, ginagamit po natin dyan yung table of signs, which will be discussed later. Our next objective, we will predict the end behaviors of the graph of polynomial functions using the leading coefficient test. So, yung mga end behaviors na yan, yung maaring falls to the right siya, rises to the right, falls to the left, or rises to the right. So, mamaya po i-discuss ko po yung leading coefficient test na malaking tulong po sa pag-graph ng polynomial functions. As well as yung pag-determine ng multiplicity of roots or zeros of polynomial functions. So, meron po kasi tayong mga polynomial functions na hindi lang po isa yung kanyang root. Maaring dalawang beses umulit, tatlo, or higit pa. So, ang tawag po natin dun is multiplicity of roots. And then, identify the number of turning points of the graph of a polynomial function. So, yung turning points na yan, kung ilang beses umiikot or yung curve ng ating polynomial functions. So, mamaya po i-discuss ko po kung anong formula dyan, kung paano kunin yung turning points ng graphs ng polynomial functions. So, let's have factored form of polynomial functions. Polynomial functions may also be written in factored form and as a product of irreducible factors. A polynomial is said to have irreducible factors when it can no longer be factored using coefficients that are real numbers. So, kagaya nga ng sabi ko kanina, maganda po na naka-express po yung ating given function in factored form para mas makita natin yung mga intercepts. And then, meron po tayong mga functions na meron po silang irreducible factors na hindi na pwede pang i-factor out. So, kasi wala na silang common factor. Hindi na sila pwedeng i-factor pa. So, let's have graphing polynomial functions. So, isa lang po ang given natin na i-graph natin. So, kasi marami po yung kasing proseso ng pag-graph natin. Anyway, i-discuss ko naman yung mga ibang mga steps pa. Like for example, yung leading coefficient test, yung mga turning points, para mas maintindihan nyo kung paano nga ba yung i-graph yung polynomial function. So, let's have the example. Graph y is equal to x cubed plus 6x squared plus 3x minus 10. As you can see, yung ating given function, hindi po siya naka-express in factored form. To graph the given function, follow these steps. So, kapag po yung ating given function is hindi naka-express in factored form, kailangan po nating i-apply yung factor theorem para makuha po natin yung mga factors niya. And then, kapag naman, given naman is in factored form na yung function, the first step is to find the intercepts, x and y. So to find the x and y intercepts, we have to set both variables to 0 para makuha natin kung saan magkocross yung graph ng polynomial function. And then, aside from getting the intercepts, mahalaga rin po ang pagkuha ng other points of the graph. So, hindi po kasi sapat lang na meron tayong intercepts. Kailangan din po yung mga ibang points pa. And then, use table of signs to locate the graph. Yan po yung next step after nating makuha yung mga other points. And then, we will apply the leading coefficient test to predict the end behaviors of the graph. So, ginagamit po yung LCT, the leading coefficient test, in order to determine or to predict yung end behaviors of the graph, yung right hand and left hand behaviors ng given function. And finally, identify multiplicity of roots or 0 if there exists any. So, kung meron lang. So, kung wala, hindi natin kailangan i-apply or kunin, hanapin yung multiplicity of roots. And then also, yung turning points of the graph. So, yung formula ng turning points of the graph po dyan is i-discuss ko po mamaya. So, let's graph y is equal to x cubed plus 6x squared plus 3x minus 10. As you can see, yung given function natin, hindi po siya naka-express sa factored form. So, ang gagawin po natin dito is i-apply po natin yung factor theorem para ma-identify kung yung mga factors ba ng constant term natin na negative 10 ay factor ng ating given function. So, kung titignan natin yung given function natin, yung degree niya is 3, meron siyang at most 3 real roots. Okay. So, yung mga factors ng negative 10 are positive negative 1, if you are familiar with rational root theorem, positive negative 2, positive negative 5, and positive negative 10. So, looking at the constant term, negative 10, let's try 5. So, kaya positive 5 or negative 5. So, itry natin yung negative 5. So, ang gagawin lang po natin dito, using synthetic division, so, sulat lang natin yung negative 5. And then, ilista natin yung mga coefficients ng given function natin. Ayan. So, yung x cubed, coefficient niya 1. And then yung 6x squared, 6. Yung 3x, 3. And then yung ating constant term, negative 10. Next, bring down 1. And then 1 times negative 5, that is negative 5. And then we add 6 plus negative 5, that is 1. And then 1 times negative 5 again, that is again negative 5. And then 3 plus negative 5, that is negative 2. And then negative 2 times negative 5, that is positive 10. And then if we add negative 10 and 10, we will get 0 as the remainder. So therefore, negative 5 is a factor or is a root of the given function. Now, to get the remaining factors, ang gagawin lang natin yung mga natira, ayan, 1, 1, negative 2 na yan, ita-transform natin in terms of x. So, magiging ganito siya. X squared plus x minus 2. Okay, so bakit naging x squared is because kailangan natin mag-subtract ng isa dun sa power ng ating leading coefficient. Okay, so, and then, if a-factor natin yung x squared plus x minus 2 using general quadratic trinomial, so, sulat lang natin dito. So, yung isang factor niya, x plus 5. And then, yung natitira naman is x squared plus x minus 2. So, kung ang x squared plus x minus 2, hindi siya factorable, tinatawag po siyang irreducible factor. Hindi na siya pwedeng i-factor pa. So, kunin natin yung factors ng negative 2. Ano yung factors ng negative 2 na kapag pinag-add natin, lilitaw yung coefficient ng x, which is 1. So, yung factors niya are positive 2 and negative 1. So, sulat lang natin y is equal to x plus 5 times x minus 1 tsaka x plus 2. So, ayan. Ibig sabihin po, yung ating given function na y is equal to x cubed plus 6x squared plus 3x minus 10, ang factored form po niya is y is equal to x plus 5 times x minus 1 times x plus 2. So, after natin kunin yung factored form ng given function natin, we have to find the intercepts of the graph. To find the x-intercept, set y to 0 and set x to 0 to obtain the y-intercept. So, let's have the x-intercept first. So, ang gagawin lang po dito is i-equate natin yung given function natin to 0. Yung y, papalitan po natin ng 0. So, magiging ganito po siya. X plus 5 times x plus 2 times x minus 1 is equal to 0. Okay, and then, equate natin each term, yung x plus 5, x plus 2, x minus 1 to 0 para makuha natin yung mga x-intercepts. So, yung una muna, x plus 5 is equal to 0. And then, kailangan natin matanggal tong 5 dito sa left side. So, magsusubtract tayo ng 5 both sides. So, ang final answer natin is negative 5. So, yung x-intercept natin dito is negative 5, 0. Yung pangalawa naman, x plus 2 is equal to 0. So, we subtract 2 from both sides. So, magiging x is equal to negative 2. Na magiging negative 2, 0. Ayan. Next naman, x minus 1 is equal to 0. Magiging x equals 1. It's because nag-add tayo ng 1 to both sides. So, magiging 1, 0. So, yung mga x-intercepts ng ating given function, negative 5, 0, negative 2, 0, and 1, 0. Next, para naman kunin yung y-intercept, we set x to 0. So, lahat ng x na nakikita natin dito sa function, papalitan lang po natin ng 0, and then ipe-perform natin yung operation. So, magiging ganito siya. Y is equal to 0 plus 5 times 0 plus 2 times 0 minus 1. And then, i-add lang natin 0 plus 5, that is 5. 0 plus 2, that is 2. 0 minus 1, that is negative 1. And then, i-multiply lang po natin yung mga factors. 5 times 2, that is 10, times negative 1, that is negative 10. So, our y-intercept will be 0, negative 10. So, tatandaan po natin sa pagsulat po ng x-intercept, nauna po yung non-zero. And then, yung 0 nasa huli. And then, kapag y-intercept naman, nauuna yung 0, of course, and then yung negative 10. So, after natin kunin yung x and y-intercepts, so, hindi po sapat yon para makita natin ng mas malinaw yung graph ng ating function. It's because kailangan po nating mag-determine ng iba pang mga points dun sa graph. So, nasa atin po kung ano po yung mga points na kukunin natin. So, for this particular example, we will use the x values negative 4, negative 1, and 0. So, just like we've done before, so, isa-substitute lang natin yung mga x values na yan dun sa given function in place of x, lahat ng x na nakikita natin dyan. And then, makukuha natin yung y value. And then, madedetermine natin yung tatlong points. So, let's start with negative 4. Y is equal to negative 4 plus 5 times negative 4 plus 2 times negative 4 minus 1. And then, we perform negative 4 plus 5, that is 1, times negative 4 plus 2, that is negative 2, and then negative 4 minus 1, that is negative 5. And then, we multiply the remaining factors, 1 times negative 2, that is negative 2, times negative 5, that is positive 10. So, the value of y is 10. And then, yung coordinates natin, yung ordered pair, negative 4, and 10. Next, x is equal to negative 1. So, magiging y is equal to negative 1 plus 5 times negative 1 plus 2. And then negative 1 minus 1. Next, y is equal to negative 1 plus 5. This is 4. And then negative 1 plus 2, 1. Negative 1 minus 1, negative 2. Then again, multiplying, 4 times 1, 4, times negative 2 is negative 8. So, the value of y is negative 8. Tapos, yung points niya, negative 1, negative 8. And finally, using 0, so 0 plus 5, 0 plus 2, 0 minus 1, ayan. So, magiging 0 plus 5, that is 5, times 0 plus 2, 2, and then 0 minus 1, this is negative 1. Then y is equal to the product of 5, 2, and negative 1, this is negative 10. And then, yung ating value for y is negative 10. And then, our coordinates will be 0, negative 10. So, ayan. Ayan po yung ating tatlong points aside from dun sa ating mga intercepts. So, our next steps is table of signs. The table of signs is used to locate the position of the curve relative to x-axis. In the given example, y is equal to the quantity x plus 5 times x plus 2 times x minus 1. If the roots are x is equal to negative 5, negative 2, and 1, this means that the graph will cross the x-axis only to these values of x. After that, test values are selected within each interval. So, yan po yung mga roots ng given function natin. And then, ibig sabihin po niyan, dadaan po dyan yung graph ng ating function. So, kailangan nating mag-set ng interval para makuha natin yung location ng position ng curve relative to x-axis. So, ang mangyayari po dyan, so between negative 5 and negative 2, negative 2 and 1, tsaka less than negative 5, tsaka greater than 1. So, susulat lang natin siya as this one, x is less than negative 5. What else? X is less than negative 2, but greater than negative 5. What else? X is less than 1, but greater than negative 2. At yung isa, x is greater than 1. So, yun yung pong ating mga intervals. So, isulat lang natin ulit yung mga intervals na kanina. So, x is less than negative 5. So, saan natin nakuha yung negative 5? Yun po yung root. Okay? And then, x is less than negative 2 but greater than negative 5. Ayan. And then, sa pagitan ng 2 tsaka negative 1, magiging x is less than 1 but greater than negative 2. And then, sa pagitan, greater than 1 naman, so sulat lang natin, x is greater than 1. So, yan yung mga intervals na kailangan natin. And then, may mga test value tayo na gagamitin base po dun sa mga intervals. So, like for example, x is less than negative 5. So, ano yung mga values na less than negative 5? Negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, and so on. Up to negative infinity. So, ang kukunin natin dito, syempre, yung susunod sa negative 5, which is negative 6. And then, yung mga values of x na nakapagitan between negative 5 and negative 2. So, let's use negative 3. Ayan. And then, sa pagitan ng negative 2 and 1, pwede natin kunin para mabilis. 0. And then, x is greater than 1, lahat ng mataas sa 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to positive infinity. So, kunin natin 2. And then, ang next na gagawin natin, isa-substitute natin yung mga test values na yan dun sa factors ng ating function in place of x. So, lahat ng x na yan. Okay? Next. Tapos, yung isusulat lang natin is yung sign, hindi yung mismong sagot. Kaya nga po, table of signs. Susulat lang natin, it's either positive or negative. So, depende po dun sa sign na magiging sagot. So, let's start. So, negative 6 muna. Negative 6 plus 5, that is negative 1. So, isusulat natin, negative. Next, negative 3 plus 5, that is positive 2. So, dahil positive, ilagay natin plus. And then, 0 plus 5, that is positive 5. So, again, positive pa rin. Next, 0 plus 2 plus 5, that is 7. So, positive pa rin. Next, negative 6 plus 2, that is negative 4. So, negative. Next, negative 3 plus 2, that is negative 1. So, negative. 0 plus 2, that is positive 2. So, positive. Next, 2 plus 2, that is 4. Ayan. So, after natin sa 5, 2, dito naman tayo sa x minus 1. So, negative 6 minus 1, that is negative 7. Again, negative na naman. And then, negative 3 minus 1, negative 4. So, negative. Next, 0 minus 1, that is negative 1. So, negative. And then, finally, 2 minus 1, that is positive 1. So, positive. So, ito po ay positive. Next. So, imumultiply ngayon natin yung mga tatlong signs na nakuha natin. So, negative times negative, that is positive. And then, multiply again to negative, magiging negative. So, dahil negative po siya, below po siya. Next. Positive times negative, that is negative. Times negative, magiging positive. Kapag positive po, above. And then, positive plus times positive, that is positive. Times negative, negative. Again, below na naman po siya. And then, finally, positive times positive, that is positive. Times positive, positive. So, this is above. So, kung makikita nyo po, using table of signs, yung curve po natin, magiging ganyan siya. Below the x-axis, above the x-axis, below the x-axis, above the x-axis. So, ganyan po ang magiging itsura niya. So, mamaya po makikita nyo po kung anong itsura ng graph ng given function natin. So, gamit po kasi ang table of signs, makikita na natin, kumbaga may clue na tayo kung ano ang magiging itsura ng ating graph. So, mas para maging aware kayo kung ano ang itsura ng ating graph, we will be using the leading coefficient test. So, in graphing polynomial functions, you may consider the use of the leading coefficient test. This test will help you determine the end behaviors. So, dalawa po yung end behaviors ng graph, yung left hand, yung bandang kaliwa, and then right hand, bandang kanan, of the graph of polynomial functions. So, and then, meron lang tayo ditong reminder, make sure to write the polynomial function in standard form. So, mahalaga po na ang given function natin ay nakasulat po sa standard form. So, dito naman, ay yung leading coefficient test natin, mas makikita siya kapag naka-standard form siya. So, hindi natin kailangan dito yung factored form. And then, kapag mali yung paggamit natin ng function natin, hindi siya nakasulat sa standard form, LCT will be incorrect, of course. And then, most importantly, the graph. So, sa pag-determine kasi ng leading coefficient, kailangan po nakasulat po in standard form. Hindi po lahat ng nauunang term ay doon po makukuha yung leading coefficient. Kailangan po naka-arrange po yung mga terms in decreasing powers, pababa. So, the graph of polynomial functions have 4 cases. So, 4 po ang cases ng graphs ng polynomial functions. 4 na uri po. So, let's start with number 1. So, case number 1. So, the graph of polynomial function y is equal to 2x cubed plus 9x squared plus 10x plus 3. And then, ito yung factored form niya is illustrated at the right. Okay. And then, leading coefficient is greater than 0. So, by the way, ito po yung leading term niya, 2x cubed. Yan. Naka-arrange po yan in standard form. And then, yung leading coefficient niya is 2. And 2 is greater than 0. And then, the degree of the polynomial function is an odd. So, paano siya naging odd? It's because the highest degree or the degree of the given function is 3, yung pinakamataas. And 3 is an odd number. And then, end behaviors of the graph falls to the left and rises to the right. So, kapag greater than 0, tsaka yung degree niya is odd, falls to the left, ayan, and then rises to the right. Next, yung kabaligtaran naman niya, the graph of the polynomial function y is equal to negative 2x cubed plus 3x squared plus 3x minus 2, or in factored form, ayan, is illustrated at the right. The leading coefficient is less than 0. So, yung leading coefficient natin ay makikita dun sa leading term na negative 2x cubed. Yung leading coefficient is negative 2. And negative 2 is less than 0. Mas mababa po ang negative 2 sa 0. And then, the degree of the polynomial function is an odd. So, ayan, 3. N is 3 pa rin. So, kapag ganyan po yung ating leading coefficient and then yung degree, yung kanyang end behaviors rises to the left. Okay? So, ayan. Nag-umpisa siya sa pinakamataas and then nag-end siya sa right. So, yung clue lang natin dyan, basta positive yung leading coefficient, pataas yung kanyang right hand. And then, pag naman negative yung kanyang leading coefficient, pababa po yung right hand. And then, for case number 3, the graph of the polynomial function y is equal to 2x to the 4th power plus 5x cubed minus x squared minus 6x, or in factored form po, ayan. Ayan. So, by the way, kapag given po yung function natin, in factored form siya, pwede naman tayong mag-multiply. Like for example, x times 2x times x times x. So, product rule ng laws of exponents, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. Kaya 4 yung kanyang degree. So, pero mas maganda kung naka-standard form siya. This one, y is equal to 2x to the 4th power plus 5x cubed minus x squared minus 6x. So, the leading coefficient is greater than 0. Yung leading term natin is ito, 2x to the 4th power. And then, yung leading coefficient nun is 2. And 2 is greater than 0. And then, yung degree ng polynomial function natin is even. So, n is equal to 4. 4 is an even number. That is why, yung end behaviors ng graph natin rises to both directions. So, positive yung leading coefficient, even yung kanyang degree. Kaya makikita nyo yung graph rises to both directions. So, rises to the left, rises to the right. Next, yung kabaligtaran naman niya, of course, kapag yung function natin, ayan, like for example, y is equal to negative x to the 4th power plus x cubed plus 3x squared minus x minus 2, or in factored form, ayan, is illustrated at the right. Ayan po yung itsura niya, yung parang letter M. Yung una W. So, yung leading coefficient natin is less than 0. So, the leading coefficient, ayan, is negative 1. So, negative x to the 4th power po kasing leading term. Yung leading coefficient is negative 1. And negative 1 is less than 0. The degree of the polynomial function is uneven, which is 4. Kaya ang kanyang end behaviors falls to the left and falls to the right, or simply falls to both directions. So yan lang po yung mga cases ng polynomial functions natin. Again, kailangan po nakasulat po yung ating function in standard form, and otherwise hindi po natin madedetermine yung end behaviors of the graph. Next, graph. Ayan. The leading coefficient is greater than 0 and the degree is odd. With this, the end behaviors of the graph falls to the left and rises to the right. So, explain lang natin bakit ganyan yung end behaviors ng ating given function, ng graph niya. So, ayan po kasi. X cube, ito po. Ayan, x cube. X cube, yan yung leading term. And then, yung leading coefficient ng x cube ay 1. And 1 is greater than 0. Then, yung kanyang degree is 3. That is why, kung i-sketch natin yung graph, ganito ang kanyang itsura. Falls to the left and rises to the right. Ayan po. Using the intercepts, other points, and table of signs, we can now draw the possible graph of the given polynomial function. So, nakuha na nating intercept, yung other points, yung table of signs, and then, yun nga, nakuha na rin natin yung end behaviors niya. Pwede na nating i-graph yung function. So, ayan po yung mga intercepts. Nakasummarize sila. So, since meron na tayo ng mga information na kailangan natin, ayan, intercepts, other points, tsaka yung position of the curve relative to x-axis. So, ayan po yung graph ng ating given function. Kitang-kita naman na it falls to the left and rises to the right. And then yung mga intercepts, ayan, negative 5, 0. Ito, dagdagan natin negative 5, 0. And then, negative 2, 2, 0, negative 2, 0. 1, 0. And then yung y-intercept, 0, negative 10. So, isang other point din pala siya. And then, negative 4, 10. Tsaka, negative 1, negative 8. So, ayan po, naka-plot na po sa ating points. And then, i-connect lang natin yan. Mas alam natin yung end behaviors. So, and then yung position of the curve relative to x-axis, makikita na, ayan, below siya, and then, above, and then below, and then above na naman. So, makikita nyo naman na below, above siya. Next, yung last naman, turning points of the graph. Turning points of a graph occur when the function changes from decreasing to increasing or vice versa. The formula in determining the number of turning points of the graph of a polynomial function is n-1, where n is the degree. So, kailangan po nakasulat po yung function natin in standard form bago natin i-apply yung formula para makuha natin yung turning points ng graph. Okay? In the given example, the degree of the polynomial function is 3. So, yung highest degree po ng function natin is 3. Okay, therefore, the number of turning points is 3 minus 1 is equal to 2. As you can see kanina, dalawang beses nag-turn yung ating graph. That is why, tama nga na sagot natin dito is 2. So, what's next? So, after na nating mag-graph ng polynomial functions, always na usually kasunod ng pag-graph natin is yung pag-solve ng problems. So, our next video lesson will be solve word problems involving polynomial functions. So, I hope you've learned on the process of graphing polynomial functions. So, yun lang. Maraming salamat.